Hey students, welcome to the Adobe Spark brand logo tutorial. So for this tutorial, I'm going to quickly go over the main features, some of the different types of tools that Adobe Spark offers. Many of you will find that Adobe Spark is pretty smooth. There's not a lot of complexity to it, but it's powerful. It's got a lot of cool stuff that you can do. So with that being said, let me go ahead and switch screens here. Please follow along as I am doing it on the screen, okay? But once again, this is a tutorial, so you can pause, you can go ahead and review as needed, or if you're pretty comfortable with the actual software because you've been messing around with it in its sandbox environment, go ahead and do so. So you're going to create two logos. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the tools by actually taking one of the brands that I've created already. Okay, remember you can always start one by going to branded graphic here, but I'm going to take one that I've already started and I'm going to edit it so I can go ahead and look at the different features. What I'm primarily going to do is get rid of everything and start from scratch. Okay, so when I'm looking in here, you can click on everything that you see and get rid of it. Okay, so I've done that. So to just hit the delete button on your keyboard. So now I got a nice little blank square. It's a Instagram post style. It'll allow me to use it as a logo for many things. So over on the side, I'm going to go down each one specifically and dig a little bit into its features so you know what to do. First and foremost is the add. If you go to add, it allows you to add a text, photo, icon, or a previous logo you've created. So text is the easiest. You can just add text right here. Okay, and if I do, I'm going to go ahead and put my name in, Mr. Hickmott. There we go, and hit done. And when you do, it just like most kind of software, you can click and drag and move it around. You can even rotate it by using those features that are in the editor. But the big thing to notice is use the guidelines. You should see on your screen that as I'm moving it around, it snaps to the center, snaps vertically and horizontally. Things like that help ensure that your actual text, your actual placement of graphics is properly symmetric and organized. One of the things that I told you is important. But when you put your text box in and you click on it, you'll notice over here it changes to the different text. So center align, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead and pick your different types of fonts. Remember serif, sans serif, or decorated based on what you feel defines you. I'm going to go through and quickly just pick a blocky font because that's more my style. I'm looking, you know what, this one, Myriad, looks pretty solid. I'm going to stick with that, okay? So I'm going to click the X to get out of it, and notice, okay, all my changes are automatically saving. Usually it says right here saved or saving, but if it's not there, oh, there it is, all right, it's pretty quick. Now, under the plus, you can also add photos. Remember, photos you can upload from a Creative Commons, like Unsplash, something like that. But here's something cool. You can actually find free photos that are marked Creative Commons license. Okay, very important to make sure we're using graphics that are permissible. Okay, people allow us. So for that example I showed you yesterday, if I put sunrise, look at that. There's some great sunrise graphics, and I can click on it and it goes in. Okay, it can just drag around kind of like a scrapbook, but there's one important feature about graphics that you'll want to know. Look over here and see this toggle that says add the background. When I click it, it makes it the background and it keeps the proportions proper. It's really nice. And then you can go ahead and change it, angle it just slightly just to give it that little kind of tweak. Like let's say I do this, but then look at this. I can zoom in, zoom out on it, and move it around using my mouse. So place it. So right now, I'm going to just go ahead and put this sunset heart hands, zoom in on it. Look at that. Looks pretty nice. I noticed that my text is a little bit too big for that, so I'm actually going to go in. I double clicked it. I'm going to just say Hickmott now. Hit done. And I'm going to shrink it just slightly. Let's see, what do I got it at? 239? Ooh, that's way too big. Let's make it 200, okay? So those are things that you will learn as you're working through this, so what sizes work and what sizes don't. So there we go. It's fairly decently aligned, okay? I'm actually going to go back to my background and move it slightly so my name is a little more proper, okay? And I know the colors aren't perfect yet, but it's okay. So the other thing under the plus is the icon. This is those graphics that I told you about when we first started. So if I look for panda, there's a bunch of different pandas. So these are like more of the clip art style, but they're really dynamic. They look pretty good. So that's the plus, and you can manipulate it, add as you go. As you're working your way down under templates, this gives you ways of looking at other designs, but be mindful that a lot of these are advanced templates, not based around logos. They're based around like flyers. So when you click it, it's going to go ahead and replace your entire document with this. Of course, you got to hit create, but it gets rid of anything that you had. So I'd recommend not using a template unless it's the first thing you do or you're doing something different after this, because right now we're just working on our brand logo. But from there, moving down to design, design also has different variations of what you've created. So this right here is what I want Adobe Spark to remix. So what it does is takes your remix and looks at different ideas from other people and changes it so it looks similar to yours. So you see, the main thing about my graphic is that I got a picture and I got my name in the middle. So all of these are variations on that with different fonts and different backgrounds that kind of give you an idea and hopefully, excuse the pun, spark your imagination to use these styles. You can choose one of them. If you flip to one of them, it switches your entire document to that style. So look at that. If you don't like it, don't forget about the undo button at the top. And it doesn't change your text even. So say you really like this graphic right here, the one that says camping. When I click it, it creates it for you. It's very cool. So I'm going to undo that because I don't want to use a template. Next is colors. Colors, I told you, you don't want to use more than 3 colors. Of course, if it's a graphic in the background, that's something that's going to have different. If it's a picture, it's going to be a little bit different from that constraint. But I'm referring to text and graphics you put in, like the panda file or something like that. You can click on different combinations. If you notice, they do break it up into different combinations like decorated, modern, bold. So I'm more of a modern user and I like red as my primary color. So I'm looking through these. I see this right here looks pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and tweak it. So when you click on a combination, you can shuffle it. So it gives you variations of it. You notice when I click that, look at my name. All it does is change shade. So the shuffle just kind of changes the tone slightly in the saturation. But if you want to totally change it, click on the little kind of slider bars that show when you click on and select, and you can change each color to something more specific. So if I click on the first one, I want my primary color to be red, so I'm going to click and drag and pick that. And then as I work my way around, I can go ahead and adjust. So that's going to be the key things as I'm working through this. Once you pick your color palette, you can always, don't forget, go back, click on the text. I don't like how it gave me gray, but I'm going to go here and there's my current palette. I'm going to select red. There we go. Looks pretty good. So when I'm clicking on these, it opens up that menu and changes everything on the fly with your preferences. So that's colors. The rest of this stuff at the bottom you won't use as heavily, but for background you won't need to change this, but we're going to keep it simple at a square. But as you're going through this, there's one thing up here that's kind of neat that you may want to try. It's called the border. When you hit border, look at this. It's going to create like a little border on the outside. All it does is takes all of your graphics or logo and shrinks it down and creates a nice little border. Most students will use this just to create a slight border. It gives a shadowy kind of effect sometimes. It's also makes it easier when you post it on social media where you might have to crop a little. So depending on what social media platform you're using. There's this move content with background. It's just a toggle to go ahead and move everything with the border. But most students will just use the border. You could keep that off and it adjusts. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn off the border, bring it all the way down. Don't really need that. All right, as I'm working my way down, resize is not necessary. We're going to do a square. That's Instagram style, they call it. So we're going to keep it at that. Animation's kind of interesting. You will not need to do an animation for your static logo. Most will find that a static logo, no animation is perfectly fine. But if you want to, you can click on these and it does little kind of animations that are fairly dynamic. Okay, some of them are really, like this flickering one. It's not probably the most professional, but if you feel you want an animation, you can do so. But we're not going to focus on that heavily. You can go ahead and mess around with these different types. Okay, you can see and change it around, but don't. Okay, you don't have to use an animation. I'm actually going to state right now it's probably not the best thing for a logo, especially when we're going to go ahead, but you can mess around with this. All right, and that is really everything. Okay, so don't worry about the libraries option. I didn't talk much about that. It's just to go ahead and create a library of files that are consistent across all your brands. But the big thing to note is that I'm going to switch screens now. Okay, I'm going to actually save this. Don't forget, you can hit the icon at the top here or hit projects here to go back and it should save it. Okay, so I'm going to switch back. All right, the big thing to note is definitely mess around with the different features. Okay, Spark is not very complex, but it has a lot of features that are powerful. So you are required to do 2 logos. Okay, make them unique to you. They have to be relevant to you, but what you may find is that the 2 logos can be vastly different. They do not have to be variations of the same style. You can have one logo that fits, something very creative and another one that's a little bit more modern or a little bit more static. Okay? So with that being said, that concludes this video. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Review this video if you have any of the tutorials or tools that you need to review. All right, thank you.